Hello and welcome back to Through the Trapdoor. I'm Katie.
And I'm Emily.
And this is our podcast where we read you Harry Potter fan fiction.
And Katie's back this week.
I'm here!
Yay!
Life isn't in the way this week.
Olivia's here with us too, so there may be, most likely, lots of baby noises. She just headbutted my headphones.
But who's ready for me to start reading the story? Is Olivia ready?
Olivia is ready.
Olivia's ready. All right. Mimi Ramirez sighed and stared at her Transfiguration book. The spell didn't make any more sense now than it had half an hour ago. While she started working on the essay for it, and Sirius, who was supposed to be helping her, was running late, she checked her watch again. A little after 11, 20 minutes late, her boyfriend, she decided, was absolutely worthless. The library was empty except for the Gobstones Club meeting going on in the back. It was a Saturday after all, and most students were busy thinking about the Halloween ball that evening. That's my favorite fanfiction trope, is they just make a ball for everything.
Well, yeah. You're in a fancy castle. Why would you not have?
I was shocked that there weren't more balls.
Honestly.
Yeah. And I can't even blame that on Harry being as observant as a brick wall, because, let's be honest, he noticed Lavender Brown and Pavati Padil constantly gossiping. That would have been a topic.
Yes.
Some fourth year had been sulking around here earlier, but she had left a while ago, and Mimi was feeling very alone. Therefore, she was glad to see Remus Lupin walk through the library doors. Smiling, she motioned for him to join her. "Morning, Remus," she said happily as he sat down across from her. "Morning," he replied. "What are you up to? Studying hard?" Mimi made a face, trying to anyways, but I'm afraid I don't quite get it. Remus studied Mimi's book upside down for a moment. "Ah, Transfiguration. Not your strong suit, I take it." She shook her head. "No, not at all. I mean, I'm not that horrible at it, but it doesn't come naturally, you know?" Remus nodded understandably. "I know. I get that way with potions." "Everybody gets that way with potions," Mimi noted. "Except Lily," they said in unison. After a brief pause, Mimi laughed. "So do you need any help with this?" Remus ventured. Mimi nodded. "Sirius was supposed to come and help me, but he seems to have disappeared." "I can't imagine where he'd run off to. You haven't seen him since breakfast, have you?" A very odd look passed over Remus's face before he shook his head. "Nope, not sure where Sirius is at the moment." Mimi sighed. "Oh well, scoot over here and explain this to me then," she said, indicating the chair next to her. Remus obliged and looked over her shoulder at the Transfiguration book. "I just finished this essay last night," he said. "What have you got so far?" Mimi showed him her piece of parchment. It had her name written on it in the upper right-hand corner.
Been there.
We all have. Remus laughed. "Going that well, huh?" "All right, well," Remus launched into an explanation. It was a very good explanation, Mimi was sure, but she only caught about half of it. The other half she had spent trying not to stare at Remus. She couldn't remember the last time she'd been alone with him, or the last time she sat this close to him. It was a full moon tonight, and she wanted to ask him how he was feeling, if he was going to be gone for a couple of days, or if he'd be in class on Monday. She supposed tomorrow might be a better day to ask, but since she strongly suspected, she'd never ask at all. It didn't really matter. I was going to be like, wait, did Mimi figure it out? But yeah, she'd already had her suspicions.
Yeah.
Mimi just wished she weren't so fixated on him. This was a bad sign. She was dating someone else, yet at the moment she was with Remus and all she could think about was him. "Oh well," she reasoned. "It's no crime if I just sit here and look at him." "So sorry I'm late, Professor," Lily wheezed as she entered the headmaster's office. "It's all right, Miss Evans," Dumbledore said, smiling, indicating that she should take a seat. "I was just catching up on a bit of my correspondence. I find it's the first thing that gets pushed aside when I'm busy." Lily couldn't think of a clever response to that, so she just sat in the chair across from the headmaster. "So, Miss Evans," Dumbledore began, "my records indicate that you have been taking enough of the right classes to enter the Aura program after you leave Hogwarts. Your marks in potions are particularly excellent." Lily beamed. "Is this the line of work you wish to pursue?" Lily considered. "It isn't really what I had in mind," she admitted. "But then, I never really had anything strongly in mind anyway." Dumbledore nodded. "At your age, it's only natural. What have you been considering?" "Well, I really like potions. I was thinking of becoming an apothecary, but I'm not really sure I'm cut out to be a businesswoman. She'd discussed this career option with Flitwick in 5th year. In order to be an apothecary, you had to become an apprentice to work in an apothecary. Apprenticeships didn't pay very well, if it did pay at all, and you had to find another kind of work during your training. Once you'd finished your apprenticeship, you could open your own business, but the problem there was finding an open shop space in the area without much competition. What else? Dumbledore asked. Lily spurted a string of ideas, commenting to each one less than the idea before. The truth was she had no idea what she had wanted to do with the rest of her life, and she was quite sure that Dumbledore had picked up on. Well, I can see that you're not passionately committed to becoming an Auror or anything else, really, at least for right now, Dumbledore concluded, his eyes twinkling. However, I might suggest teaching, he asked, opening one of the drawers in his desk in search for something. Teaching? Lily echoed. She never considered teaching before. There are quite a few good training schools in the United Kingdom for prospective wizarding teachers. Most are 1 or 2 year programs, and they usually have quite a good job placement service. A degree is not required for teaching, but it is a good experience to have, especially if you're feeling uncertain about your career choice. It will give you a little extra time to decide, the headmaster reasoned, laying out several applications before her. Oh, Lily said, looking them over. I'd never thought of that before. The teachers at Hogwarts always seemed so permanent. She couldn't imagine the school ever needing new ones. She supposed, though, that there were openings occasionally, not just at Hogwarts, but in all schools. Unless, of course, the staff all became ghosts and continued teaching like Professor Binns. Dumbledore smiled, his eyes twinkling behind his half-rimmed glasses. I think you'd make an excellent potions mistress. Lily smiled. Thank you, Professor. Now then, he said, do you have any questions for me about careers or Auror training? Lily fiddled with her necklace and thought for a moment. Most of her questions about career advice had been answered in 5th year career advice, and she was fairly certain Moody had already briefed them all on everything they needed to know about Auror training. Something tickled in the back of her head, though. Wasn't there something she was meaning to ask Dumbledore? She slid the pendant back and forth across the chain, considering there must be something Oh! Lily stopped, feeling very stupid, and stared down at her own necklace. Professor, she began, would you mind if I asked you something not related to careers or Auror training? Not at all. Professor, have you ever heard anything about magical necklaces? That's a very broad question, Miss Evans. I have heard some things about some magical necklaces. What is it that you want to know? Right. Well, my necklace in particular, she said, indicating the pendant around her neck. This summer, a wizard, inquired about my necklace. He said it was very valuable, but I didn't know what he meant. Professor, it's just an ordinary necklace, at least as far as I can see. Dumbledore frowned. Would you mind taking it off? I'd like to have a look at it. Sure, Lily replied, fumbling around for the clasps. She pulled the chain around her neck, searching for it, but the clasps appeared to be hiding from her. She frowned and spun the chain around again, but still couldn't find the clasp. Shouldn't have caught on the pendant by now? Certainly it wasn't small enough to fit through the eye hole connected to the pendant. There doesn't seem to be a clasp, she told the professor, very confused. Does it fit over your head? He inquired. Perhaps. Lily didn't remember putting it over her head, but perhaps it had. Hadn't James put it on her the first time anyway? And she couldn't really remember ever taking it off. She tried to slip the chain over her head, but it was too small. Lily was beginning to feel rather alarmed. Professor, it won't come off. Dumbledore looked very puzzled. How did you get it on, then? I don't remember. I think there was a class, but it's been so long since I've taken it off, I can't be sure. Has the necklace ever tried to strangle you? Strangle me? Lily repeated, her hand flying to her throat. No! Some enchanted necklaces are cursed to strangle their wearer, but those curses usually work over a course of several hours. How long have you had this necklace? Since last Christmas? Dumbledore frowned, mulling it over for a few minutes. I'm afraid my knowledge of enchanted necklaces is rather limited, Miss Evans. However, I do not believe this necklace is cursed. I believe it has been charmed to not leave your neck, though. I do not know why and cannot tell you how to remove it. Were it not charmed in this way, I could keep it and perhaps find other spells that have been attached to it. My best guess is some protective charms have been placed on it, and whoever the necklace maker was intended it as a symbol of protection for the wearer. Lily sighed, feeling rather defeated. She'd hoped Dumbledore would have some brilliant explanation for her. However, the new and slightly alarming realization that she couldn't remove her necklace might lead her down another path of research that would hopefully be more fruitful than the last. That is kind of terrifying.
Yeah, kind of. Just a little.
Because, I take my necklace off every night because I'm always afraid it's going to strangle me. It's a weird thing that I have. That I have to take it off at night because I'm afraid it's going to strangle me. I wouldn't worry about it right now, Miss Evans. I suggest, however, when you get back from the Aura training program, you write some wizarding jewelers and casually inquire about magical necklaces, such as your own. If you truly hold something valuable, you may not want to reveal it to them that you actually own such a trinket. So word your inquiries carefully. Also, next time you're in Hogsmeade, I suggest asking Mr. Zorcan about it. Though I don't know how much he knows about necklaces, his knowledge of magical objects does exceed my own. Lily nodded. Thanks, Professor. Thanks very much. Dumbledore smiled. I don't know how much help I've been, but you're welcome nevertheless. He glanced at his 12-handed watch. Well, I believe it's almost time for lunch. You must be getting hungry. Lily glanced at her own watch in surprise. Yes, I suppose it is. I'll let you get on with your lunchtime then. Have a nice day, Miss Evans. Thank you, Professor, Lily said, rising. You have a nice day as well. She left Dumbledore's office, fully preoccupied with the thoughts of her necklace. It wasn't until Melody ran into her at the top of the second-floor stairs that she had realized there were other students in the hallway, chattering noisily and heading down to lunch. Lily! Melody cried, launching into her best friend's arms. How's your day going? All right, Lily said, slightly annoyed at being shaken from her thoughts. Is it? That's wonderful. Lily raised her eyebrows. You're in an awfully good mood. I know. It's a fantastic day, isn't it? It's a bit chilly, Lily informed her. Melody rolled her eyes. I didn't mean the weather, silly. Oh, well, what did you mean then? It's just great. Guess who I talked to this morning? Lily said, racking her brain for ideas. I don't know. Who? No, come on. Guess. I hate guessing games, Lily whined. Please? Melody asked, giving Lily puppy dog eyes. Lily sighed. Fine. Filch? Ew. Why would that make me happy? Melody demanded, releasing Lily's arms. I don't know. Maybe he gave you back all of the dung bombs he stole from you over the years? Oh, that'd be nice. But no. Guess again. Peeves? No, come on, Lily.
God, Lily.
I told you I was bad at this, Lily reminded her as they neared the entrance to the Great Hall. Think students, Melody hinted. All right, Remus. Nope, Melody said. Then thought for a moment. Well, okay, yes, but that's not who I'm thinking of. Sirius? Lily ventured, thinking she was more off target than she'd been with Filch. Bingo! Melody cried, grabbing Lily's arms again, and she skipped into the Great Hall and Lily blinked at her friend. Really? She asked. Seriously? Yep, Melody said, grinning, and you're eating lunch with us today, she informed Lily, dragging her over to the Gryffindor table. Do I have a choice? Lily asked, sitting down next to Melody, who plopped down across from Arabella and Mundungus. Afternoon, Lily, Arabella said pleasantly. Nice of you to join us. I suppose, Lily replied, rubbing her arm where Melody had latched onto it. Ah, Lily Bean, there you are, James said, sitting down to Lily's left. My name isn't Lily Bean, she reminded him, grabbing a ham sandwich from the middle of the table. Of course not, James replied, kissing her on the cheek. Lily, feeling a bit embarrassed, glanced around to see if anyone had noticed, but nobody seemed concerned. It wasn't that she didn't want people to know she was officially James's girlfriend. She just didn't want them to make a big fuss about it. A few minutes later, Lily was very surprised to see Mimi and Remus walk into the Great Hall together and sit down next to Arabella and Mundungus. Even more surprising was when Sirius walked in with Peter a minute later and sat down on Melody's right. Lily, James, Bella, and Dung stopped eating for a moment, staring over at Melody, Mimi, Remus, and Sirius. But no one commented on it, and after a few seconds, everyone turned their attention back to their food. Did you see what I just saw? James whispered into Lily's ear. Lily nodded. Did hell freeze over when I wasn't paying attention? He continued. Lily snorted into her pumpkin juice. Melody turned to look at her in surprise. You're right there, Lou? Lily nodded, trying to keep the juice from spurting out of her nose. Melody shrugged and then turned back to Sirius, who she was now being oddly buddy-buddy with.
So, not that I don't love a good fall flavor, but could you imagine drinking pumpkin juice from September to June?
No.
I mean, first of all, pumpkin juice just sounds gross.
Like, literally sounds disgusting.
Because are you just drinking juiced pumpkins? Like, I don't understand.
Right, is it like carrot juice? But, like, is that what it is?
Or is it like...
Or is it just like some kind of iced beverage that just tastes like pumpkin? Because it sounds like it's cold.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a hot drink.
No.
Sorry, James whispered, muffling his laughter at her. Sure you are, Lily hissed back. Arabella leaned across the table and motioned to Lily and James. Did I miss something? She asked, flicking her eyes over at Melody and Sirius. Apparently, Melody and Sirius had a talk this morning, Lily said. That's all I know. Arabella's eyes got a bit wider. She glanced over at them again. Well, I guess that's good, isn't it? Yeah. Just as long as Mimi and Melody don't start fighting, it is, Lily agreed. Then glanced over at Mimi, who was very preoccupied in conversation with Remus and didn't seem to notice the three teenagers whispering conspiratorially behind her back. Arabella shrugged. Better them fighting than Melody and Sirius. They're in the same house. That's true, Lily agreed. And the teenagers sat back down, trying to look as though they hadn't been talking about people who were sitting less than a foot away from them. Luckily, none of the parties mentioned seemed to have noticed. Mimi was slightly annoyed. Not that she didn't love talking to Remus, of course, but she wasn't sure how fond she was of Sirius sitting across the table from her, flirting with Melody. Well, maybe not flirting exactly. Maybe they were just talking, but Melody Caldwell, it was hard to tell. She was already annoyed at Sirius for forgetting to meet her in the library, and now he had shown up to lunch talking to Melody? If she didn't have Remus to talk to, she didn't know what she'd do. Sirius sure was lucky he had such great friends, or he'd be in a hell of a lot of trouble. Mimi glanced across the table just as Sirius threw a bit of bread crust at Melody, who laughed and threw back a grape. Was that flirting or just adolescent food fighting? It looked suspiciously like flirting to her. Infuriated, she decided to begin shamelessly flirting with him. It wasn't hard, after all, to pretend she was attracted to Remus, because even though she felt guilty admitting it, she didn't have to pretend at all. However, if Sirius was going to sit across the table from her flirting with Melody, she could do whatever she damn well pleased with Remus, and if Sirius was going to be angry at her for it, well, that was his problem. And I think that's it for this week, since Miss Olivia's about to have a meltdown. So I guess we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on our journey through the trapdoor.
You can leave us a review on Facebook or Apple Podcasts. It would literally mean the world to us.
Or you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at thetrapdoor16.
Or if you have any longer thoughts, you can shoot us an email at throughthetrapdoor16@gmail.com.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week.
See you next week.